let's say the biggest wealth of a family or of a company and so on, typically has been created during a recession, during a crisis, during something bad that's going on. Why? Why is that? Well, because when things are in abundance, mediocrity thrives. Mediocre people thrive in abundance, right? You don't need to be an amazing salesperson when all of your clients have a ton of money. You need to be an amazing salesperson where everyone's looking at every penny.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Let's talk about some of your business. I do have to let my audience know who I'm talking to. It's Robert Indries, and he's made tons. We're talking about money and tax break, but he has over 10 businesses, generating each of them 7 figures every year, and that is consistent. And it's tough having to sign half of that away, depending on your location or where you live. So I totally understand it. And his business continues to grow every month, but the steadiest growth has been during the pandemic. You thrived during the pandemic, Robert. So we're excited to kind of have you on board and talk to us a little bit about that. So jump right in, Robert. Tell us about how the pandemic benefited your business model so well.
So I have a few interesting principles that I judge that I run my life by. Like, number one, I listen to the people that actually know what they're talking about, right? So don't take health advice from someone that's fat. Don't take relationship advice from someone that's single. It's as easy as that. So with regards to that, something about money, or many things about money, you can learn from people that are actually wealthy. So and I can share you some very quick principles, and that will help you understand what mindset I had during the pandemic and even now after post, because the economic crisis hasn't really hit yet. So it might hit it. We might just wave it across, but we'll see what the next year holds. In terms of the principles, number one is you make your own economy. The economy doesn't matter. You make your own economy, right? Based on how much you learn, based on how much you work, based on the quality of your work, based on the quality of your communication with others, and so on and so forth. So you make your own economy. It doesn't matter what the economy of the world, the planet, the country. You can make whatever you want. So that's one principle. Another principle is based on historical facts and figures. The biggest, let's say, how are they called? Like the biggest, not empires, but let's say the biggest wealth of a family or of a company and so on, typically has been created during a recession, during a crisis, during something bad that's going on. Why? Why is that? Well, because when things are in abundance, mediocrity thrives. Mediocre people thrive in abundance, right? You don't need to be an amazing salesperson when all of your clients have a ton of money. You need to be an amazing salesperson where everyone's looking at every penny, right? So what happens is when the economy crumbles, which it does historically every 12 to 14 years, you can expect a crisis, right? So I'm telling you now, right? Okay, so when that happens, then if you are outstanding at certain skill sets, you can shine, right? So people like myself, it's not like we can't wait for a crisis to happen, but the truth is that whenever something like that happens, we are overly confident. We're like, oh, a crisis right now, amazing, let's make some millions, and literally, I mean, I'm not joking. Why? Because normally, like, let me tell you an example, very, very concrete example. One of our clients in one of my businesses does marketing. Like, we help other companies grow. So one of our clients, it was in tourism, and tourism was the industry that was the most affected, right? Everything in tourism, everything that had to do with traveling, everything that had to do with aviation, with trips, excursions, and so on and so forth. So these guys, when we started working with them, they were at around, let's say, 20 to 25 million, somewhere there, 22 million, whatever. That's how much they were making per year. Then the pandemic was coming along, right? And they're like, we were recommended, by the way, just so it's clear. So someone recommended us, hey, if you need help with marketing, work with these guys. And then we hopped on a call, and they said, look, we've gotten the business thus far, but we need someone to help us, grow it, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then the pandemic happened, or like we signed a contract after the pandemic happened, like I think 2 months after, and then we started helping them. Okay. So in the country in which these guys operate, they were, I think, number, I don't know, 5 or whatever. They were top 10, but under number 5, let's say, right? They're one of the biggest travel agency in their country. And they had their number 1 player was making around 40 something million a year, the travel agency. Travel agencies, the guys that like you go to and they say, oh, go to Egypt for $500 or whatever, and flights included, and whatever. So those travel agencies that make those packages. So the number 1 competitor was doing like 40 something million, and these guys were doing like 20 something million. So they're half their size, right? And they're like number 5 or 6 or 7, whatever. Okay. So fast forward less than 2 years, right? So to a couple months ago, they're the guy that was number 1, right? Because they were one of the first guys on the market. That was one of the main reasons. They went from 40 something million to 6 million. Imagine the crunch of that business, going from 40 something million to 6 in 2 years. It's horrible. They need to lay people off, like they like very bad. Like you can it's very difficult to imagine 30 let's say 35 million less you're making.
What about the guys that you started working with making the 20? What are they making 2 years later?
During that same period, when everyone in the industry was losing money and most of the industry was going bankrupt, literally, and people buying each other out, we've taken these guys from 22 million to now they're at 40 something million.
Impressive.
They're literally the number 1 right now.
How do you do that?
Let me give you another example, just because to answer the how do you do that. We had another client in Canada. They were selling dresses for women, reusable dresses, the type that I don't know how to explain it, but like you can change it and it looks different the next time you wear it, right? So they were selling those types of multifunctional dresses or whatever they call them. And then the pandemic hit, and we already had a contract with them, and we're just doing our thing. And at one point we get an email from them or a call, I can't remember, but they're like, okay, so what do we do to stop the contract? I'm like, stop what contract? Like, well, the marketing contract. I'm like, why would we stop the contract? You're making money. It's like, well, yes, but the pandemic hit and no one can go to events anymore. Like you can't go to weddings, you can't go to christenings, you can't go to big parties. And like, well, that will affect business. What business? My business. Like, how do you know? Like, well, it's obvious. Like, what do you mean obvious? Like, this is that, like, for us as data-driven business people, when someone says something like that, we're shocked. We're like, how can you say that? You have no data, you have no historical proof, you don't know what's going to happen next month. How do you know the sales will go down? What tells you? Like, well, it's like you need to think about this stuff. Like, okay, you need to think about it, and that's it. Like, you prepare and you do whatever you need to do, but that doesn't mean you you stop doing business. I mean, what, stop your marketing, you basically stop doing
That's
business.
the
Like
flow,
how
the
are you going
blood
to
flow.
stay?
Yeah.
Exactly. How are you going to stay in business if you stop the thing that's making you money? Like, that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, right? So it doesn't matter. So the long story short, we kept working with them because we convinced them that there's no literal proof that this isn't going to happen, that this is going to happen, that you're going to suffer. Guess what? We kept doing campaigns. We kept doing very creative campaigns. And in the month after this discussion, so this was maybe in during half of a month or whatever, but the month after that, the campaigns we ran, some of the campaigns we ran had a 700% return on investment, right? So they were making $7 for every $1 invested into marketing. They're putting $10,000, they're making $70,000, right? A 7x return. And they're like, see, we're like, where did this come from? Why did that happen? Because guess what? Many of their competitors stopped their marketing. Many of their competitors stopped their campaigns, and so on and so forth. And guess what else happened that we now know, because we have historical data to prove that? When people can't go to events and they can't go out of their house, what do? They stay home on their phones and they shop, because now they have time to actually shop, because now they're looking at dresses, now they're on Facebook, oh, this amazing ad, this dress, this whatever, I'm going to buy it. No one else is bidding for that because everyone stopped their marketing budget, and people shop more and are more likely to buy in advance because they know they're going to go to an event in 2 years. It's not like they won't need a dress, right? And they see this amazing ad for a dress, they're just going to buy it. So now we have conclusive data telling us that during a lockdown, people buy more online. Whoop-de-doo, right? We didn't know, now we do. Okay, so things like this. We're very data-driven, and I'm an engineer by background. I'm a civil engineer, so I'm the numbers guy, right? Don't tell me that this is how it's going to be. Show me the numbers, and then maybe I'll believe you. If you don't show me numbers, if it's not data-driven, I'm not interested.
So the historical data is what's driving the marketing for you, for the companies that you work for, even running the ads.
Yeah.
And what?
Because you need creativity, right? Like you can't, like for example, with the what's it called, with the tourism company, what we did is, because people were saying, well, yeah, but what if we can't go? We would tell them that if you can't go, we will give you the 100% of the value of the trip, yes, in like a voucher that you can use for another trip, or we can postpone it or whatever, right? And that's it. And people were feeling confident, like, I want to go on this trip, right? If the lockdown stops, I am going to. If it doesn't, I can use that same money for another trip. And that's it. And no one was doing this. We were doing it, and we were selling just as much. Sales did not go down at all. Quite the opposite. We had better sales conversations with people, right?
And then that's the customer service aspect of it too, that you provide that no one else was providing at the time. That reassurance, that confidence in the customer can have to know that they want to buy. They have no problem spending their money with you. You're the company you work with.
Exactly.
How big is your team?
So across all of my businesses, we're a little over 100 people, so not too many. I'm still, the empire is still small. I hope to grow, as probably we all do in business. I have a lot of things that I want to achieve, but for right now, we're around 100, and some companies have very few staff, maybe like 5 people. Other companies, have 30 something or whatever.
Small and mighty. What about tell us a little bit about your morning routine, the habits, success habits you put in place to help you lead those 100 people and your businesses.
So something I can tell you that is that the habits you have can or cannot have a relationship to your work. Like for example, you can have a habit in the morning to go jogging with your significant other. Right? It has nothing to do with your work, but it's an incredibly important habit if you love that and you appreciate that, and your spouse, your significant other appreciates it. So the habits you have don't necessarily have to affect your career. In my case, I have taken the decision a long time ago that I want my life to be mission driven. So I am a family man, and I spend I feel that, considering my drive and my determination for business, is probably equal to anyone else that comes to mind, as successful entrepreneurs. At the same time, I do block time for family. I do spend time with them every single week. I do activities with them, and so on and so forth, and I work on my health, etc. However, I've taken a decision a long time ago to have my life be mission driven, because I just love that. Like, I love adding value. I love taking humanity forward with everything I do. It's just literally that's something, and I do it through business. Maybe other people do it through coaching, other people do it through trainings, or books or whatever. I have some books coming out. Like, we had a bestseller come out like a couple months ago. But the main way I do it is through business, through building amazing businesses. And that's how I get so many people interested in working with me, and that's how I acquire such portfolio, because people come to me and say, I'd like you to come join me on my business, right? It's making this much, this is the potential, and so on and so forth. And then I think, do I want to join? Do I not? Does it make the world a better place? Does it not? And so on. So that's just as context. And so because I chose that, my morning habit is very straightforward. I wake up, in general, at least for the past quite some time now, I wake up in general at like 4 a.m. Sometimes at, I don't have an alarm. That's the point. Sometimes I wake up at 3:47. Other times I wake up at 4:15. Other times, if I slept late, I wake up at 5 or whatever, but it doesn't matter. So typically I wake up.
You wake up at the same time,
more or less at 4. And then I do approximately 3 hours of intense work. I just work. Like, I work for like 3 hours. And in those 3 hours, I get more done than most people get in a week. And I do that in 3 hours in the morning, right? Every morning. So
I operate the same way. So I definitely know you use your brain when you are at your optimum, and you're super focused and tailored, that you can accomplish more than someone can do in 8 hours. And I find it like that with me and my husband. I'm like, give me 3 hours and I can do everything and be done by 8 a.m.
Yes, exactly. And it's so rewarding. After that, your entire day is a bonus. You've achieved so much in that day. For me, the entire rest of the day is literally a bonus. And I can have 5 meetings, to where I add value to people. I can do other tasks. I can spend time with my wife. I can do whatever I want to do, right? And it's just an amazing day. The rest of the day is just.
I agree. Tell us, where can we find you? Where can we connect with you?
If you just search for my full name on Google, the entire first page is me, and probably the second page as well. So it's myfullname.com as well. You can find me on LinkedIn. Twitter blocked my account for no good reason. I'm trying to get it unblocked. It's such a pathetic thing. You can barely talk with them. I don't know why they did that. I think, I don't know, I followed too many people in a day. I have no idea what happened. But
so Robert Indries at .com.
Yes, robertindries.com. They can email me there. Like, there are forms. Very easy.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I really enjoy having you on.
Of course.
Perfect.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.